And now, starting at quarterback, number 2, Mason Rudolph. Big Deke news. The Steelers got their quarterback. Kinda. This is a good move. Mason's back. I like it. I think it's a fine move for multiple reasons. But we know how this goes, right? We know how this goes. Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers today. It is written. It's just how it is with Mason Rudolph and the Steelers. That's the dynamic. That's the relationship. The dude gets slighted and kicked in the nuts every turn he makes. So it would only be right. Mason Rudolph back with the Steelers. Really the only quarterback on the team right now. I'm not counting Skylar Thompson. Mason Rudolph is the guy right now. But it's only right that Aaron Rodgers signs on the same day or signs pretty soon here now, because every time Mason Rudolph gets something going for him, it goes bad. It goes wrong. The Steelers slight him or something goes awry. He gets benched for Duck. Ben retires. Then we draft Kenny and we sign Mitch, and Mason becomes QB3. And then he saves the season a couple years ago, and the Steelers just act like it was nothing and easily move off of him and sign Russ and go with Fields after Kenny requests a trade. But now he's back. And this is a good move, man. Nothing wrong with this move. 2-year deal for, I think it's $8 million. 2 year, $8.5 million. So $4 something per year. If we don't get Rodgers, who else are we going to go to? Clearly the Steelers are fine moving off of Russ. So after that, who else you throwing out there as like a starter potential type of dude? I'll take Mason. I'll take Mason over Russ at this point. Let's take a chance with Mason. Now, I don't think he's going to be the only quarterback we roster. I think there's going to be some competition. It'll be between, if we don't sign Rodgers, it would be between him and maybe we trade for like a Joe Milton, or maybe we sign another quarterback out there, or someone we draft in the first round. Maybe it's a Shador if he falls. Maybe it's a Jackson Dart. Maybe it's one of the guys in the second round, a Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, Quinn Ewers later on. I mean, there's going to be some sort of competition here. But as of right now, Mason's got a chance. And that's if we don't sign Aaron Rodgers. I still think we should be going all in to try to get Aaron Rodgers. Don't get me wrong. But in terms of a backup plan, in terms of a pivot, it's nice that we actually have a quarterback on the roster, and a quarterback that wants to be here, that is familiar with what it means to be a Steeler, a dude that learned under the GOAT. Something to be said for that. So I'm happy Mason's back, and I'll be rooting for him if he gets a chance for another redemption story and to really take things to another level when you're talking about his story with the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Because he's still got talent, man. That's the thing. I told everyone, this is a take I was completely right on, whenever he signed with the Titans, that he would be better than Will Levis. That at some point, Mason Rudolph was going to start games for the Titans. And that did happen. He was not only better than Levis, he did start games. Now, he didn't play as good as I thought he was going to, but he played all right. He played decent. It's also the Titans, so that's the other thing. Maybe you take some of his starts last year with a grain of salt. The Titans are a disaster right now. We know what he looked like 2 years ago at the end of that season in 2023. We know what he looked like for us. He's looking like a top 10 quarterback. Granted, small sample size, 3 games, and then he had the wild card game in the playoffs, and looked decent in the wild card game too. You know, got it within 1 score in the second half against the Bills on the road. Didn't think he choked. Didn't think that the moment was too big for him. So, if we don't get Rodgers, I am fine with the Mason Rudolph option, Mason Rudolph competition type of option. I really am. I was good with it last year if it would have been Mason and Kenny competition. And now, after we go through another 10-7 season with new quarterbacks, not opposed to spinning the block again with Mason and seeing what he's got. But with Rodgers still out there, still try to get Aaron Rodgers. I could see it working with Mason in this offense, though. Can't you? Pickens, Metcalf, deep threats. Mason throws a good deep ball. He could work with Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson in the slot, Pat Freiermuth. Like, there's a connection there already, too, with all these players outside of DK Metcalf, really. And obviously, he would have to build a rapport with Arthur Smith. But I think that rapport should be better than what it was when Mason was here with Canada. Although, low-key, the Mason Rudolph, Mike Sullivan / Eddie Faulkner combo was doing pretty solid for us at the end of 2023. Not going to lie. But I feel like Arthur Smith, Mason Rudolph shouldn't have a problem with getting on the same page and running the offense. I'm also seeing, this is a quick side note before I sign off here, Kyle Juszcyk visiting with the Steelers today. 49ers fullback was just released by them. I don't know how many Pro Bowls he's made. Made a ton of Pro Bowls. Has been one of the best fullbacks in the league for the last decade. Visiting with the Steelers. I mean, I know he's up there in age and everything, but that could be a decent signing. Arthur Smith does like using fullbacks. He didn't really have his guy last year. So maybe Kyle Juszczyk could do that. And he's one of those guys, too. He's athletic enough, can take some carries if you want to do some like fullback dives or fullback handoffs to try to keep the defenses on their toes. You could do that type of stuff with Juszczyk. Still a good blocker, obviously. Like that's the name of his game, being the fullback, but does have that athleticism to him where you could dump off some passes. He could be actually like more a part of the offense as opposed to just being a blocker. That wouldn't be a bad pickup. It really wouldn't. So he's meeting with us today, and we'll see what comes from that. But that's it for this breaking news episode of Big Deke News. Mason is back. I think it's a great signing. Yeah, it is. It's a really good signing as we wait for the whole Aaron Rodgers stuff. What's wrong with bringing back Mason Rudolph? Does anyone have anything against this? I don't think so. I don't think anyone would. Because, like, for Mason, or, worst case for him, and probably the most likely scenario for the Steelers is Mason is the backup. And Mason, you could do a lot worse than Mason Rudolph being your backup. So, but the upside for him is, maybe he's potentially your starter this year. Maybe. I know it's not the most high-end option or anything, but it is an option at this point that I'm good with. And you wouldn't be paying him much. You could still try to fill out the rest of his roster via free agency here. You could spend some money. Although we missed out on defensive line. I don't think there's any doubt about it. We whiffed on defensive line in free agency. So I don't really even know what else is out there for us. I'll have to look into that as this week ends and maybe going into the weekend, do a recap of all the free agent moves and what I think the Steelers should do going forward. But, yeah, that'll be in a few days. Let's wait on that. But that's it for, again, today's show. Stay chillin'. Peace.